The signals came in the night, a pattern of radio waves that made Dr. Alan Frost sit up straight in his chair at the observatory. 3 weeks of strange readings had culminated in this moment. Clear, unmistakable evidence of intelligent origin. "This isn't random," he whispered, adjusting his glasses. The computer confirmed what his instincts already knew. These weren't natural stellar emissions or satellite echoes. Dr. Frost's fingers trembled as he reached for his phone. Within an hour, observatories across the globe were focused on the same distant point in space. Within 2 days, the International Space Agency had called an emergency meeting. Major Lisa Collins stood at the back of the crowded briefing room, arms crossed, expression grave. Unlike the excited scientists, she saw potential threats where others saw discovery. "The signals appear to be approaching," Dr. Frost explained to the assembled experts and government officials. His presentation showed a trajectory heading directly toward Earth's solar system. "And they're accelerating." "How long until contact?" someone asked. "At current speeds, less than 2 weeks." The room erupted in voices. Major Collins stepped forward. "We need to prepare defensive measures. We know nothing about their intentions." Many disagreed. "We can't welcome a new species with weapons," argued a diplomat. "We can welcome them with whatever we want," Collins replied. "But we should be ready for anything." The debate continued worldwide as humanity faced its first potential alien encounter. Military forces went on high alert, while scientists prepared welcome messages and translation algorithms. The waiting ended sooner than expected. On day 9, every early warning system on Earth failed simultaneously. Radar, satellite monitoring, and deep space telescopes all went blind for 13 minutes. When systems came back online, the object was already passing Mars. It was massive, a ship stretching nearly 4 miles from end to end, shaped like a crescent with strange geometric structures dotting its dark surface. Smaller vessels surrounded it, moving in perfect formation. Attempts at communication went unanswered for 24 hours. Then, suddenly, every electronic device on Earth capable of displaying images showed the same face. The being called itself HFY, ambassador of the galactic hegemony. It had strangely symmetrical features, with skin like polished bronze and eyes that seemed to shift between colors. "People of Earth," the translation came through clearly, as if Xorval had been speaking English all its life. "We bring greetings from the unified civilizations of the galaxy. We have watched your development with great interest." World leaders scrambled to respond, but Xorval continued without waiting. "Your world has reached the threshold where isolation can no longer be permitted. The hegemony extends an invitation to join our collective of worlds." President Wilson addressed the alien from the United Nations building in New York. "We're honored by your contact and would welcome peaceful exchange. Perhaps we could establish diplomatic relations and learn about each other." Xorval's expression didn't change. "Diplomatic relations have now been established. The hegemony offers protection, technological advancement, and cultural exchange. In return, Earth will provide resources and accept guidance on matters of interstellar importance." The language was diplomatic, but the message became clear as Xorval outlined terms. "This wasn't an invitation, it was an acquisition. Your species shows remarkable potential," Xorval said. "Under hegemony direction, humanity could advance centuries within decades." As the broadcast ended, 3 smaller ships descended toward Earth, heading for major capitals. They carried hegemony representatives to begin what they called integration discussions. At the emergency UN Security Council meeting that followed, diplomat Frank Nichols summarized what many were thinking. "They're not asking us to join. They're telling us we've been annexed." Major Collins watched the alien ships on monitoring screens. "This isn't first contact," she said quietly. "This is first conquest." The United Nations headquarters buzzed with tension as hegemony representatives took their seats. 3 of them had arrived in sleek ships that now hovered above New York, Beijing, and Moscow. Their leader, Xorval, sat opposite the Security Council, flanked by two guards whose armor seemed to shift colors with their movements. The terms are simple, Zorval explained, voice melodic yet firm. Earth will become a protected territory under hegemony guidance. You will provide access to your mineral resources and biological specimens. In exchange, we will share select technologies and ensure your safety from other cosmic threats. Frank Nichols, the chief human diplomat, leaned forward. And if we prefer to maintain our independence? Zorval's expression didn't change. Independence is an illusion in a galaxy of thousands of civilizations. Unaligned worlds inevitably fall prey to exploitation or worse. The hegemony offers protection through integration. Sounds more like surrender than partnership, Nichols replied. Call it what you wish. You have 30 Earth days to accept these terms. After that, we cannot guarantee a peaceful transition. As the meeting adjourned, Dr. Olivia Grant rushed through security checkpoints. The xenobiologist had been analyzing data from the hegemony ship's transmissions. She caught up with Nichols in the hallway. They're lying, she said breathlessly, showing him her tablet. I've decoded communications between their ships. They refer to Earth as a Class 3 resource world. There are references to something called the Extraction Protocol. Across the globe, Captain Paul Warren was reaching similar conclusions. His intelligence team had intercepted and partially translated the aliens' internal communications. They'd done this before, he told his superiors at a secure facility. I've counted references to at least 27 worlds they've integrated. Based on context, these planets were stripped of resources and their populations relocated as labor forces. The hegemony representatives spread across Earth, meeting with governments and corporations, always promising benefits while avoiding specific commitments. They spoke of Earth's potential and the hegemony's benevolence. Some human leaders were convinced. Others remained suspicious. In private, world powers prepared for the worst. Military forces worldwide conducted drills while scientists examined every scrap of information about hegemony technology. Their energy weapons operate on principles we barely understand, reported a physicist at a classified briefing. Their ships have defenses that would neutralize our most advanced weapons instantly. President Wilson convened a secret council of military and scientific leaders. Do we have any advantages? She asked. General Carter shook his head. Conventionally, none. Their technology appears centuries beyond ours. Then we need an unconventional approach, the president replied. Public opinion split sharply. Some argued that resistance was futile, that humanity should negotiate the best terms possible. Others insisted that freedom was worth any price. Protests erupted worldwide, both for and against cooperation with the hegemony. On day 25 of the ultimatum, Zorval requested a progress update. Frank Nichols met with him alone. We need more time, Nichols said. Our world has many governments, many voices. Consensus takes time. Time is a luxury you no longer possess, Zorval replied. The hegemony has allocated resources to this sector based on Earth's integration. Delays are inefficient. What happens if we reject your terms? Nichols asked directly. Zorval's eyes shifted to a deeper shade. Then we would be forced to demonstrate the consequences of such a choice. The hegemony has never failed to integrate a targeted world. After Nichols reported this conversation, emergency sessions began worldwide. Military commanders presented grim assessments while diplomats argued for negotiations. Underground, in facilities hidden from hegemony scanning technology, scientists Diane Miller and Kevin Hayes made a discovery that would change everything. Something about Earth was different from other worlds the hegemony had conquered. Something that might give humanity its only chance. Diane Miller stared at her computer screen, blinking to make sure she wasn't seeing things. The data patterns were clear, but the implications seemed impossible. Kevin, look at this, she called to her colleague. Kevin Hayes crossed the underground laboratory, leaning over her shoulder. That can't be right, he muttered, adjusting his glasses. Run it again. She did. The results were the same. Earth's magnetic field has unique properties, Diane explained. The combination of our iron core, atmospheric composition, and natural radiation creates interference patterns that disrupt hegemony scanning technology. Kevin pointed to another set of readings. Their ships have been constantly adjusting their sensors since arrival. They're struggling to get clear data about our deeper installations. Word of their discovery reached General William Carter within hours. The gruff military leader arrived at the hidden facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, accompanied by experts from 3 continents. "Can we use this?" he asked directly. Kevin nodded. "Theoretically, we could amplify these effects, create a shield that would blind their targeting systems and disrupt their weapons." "How long?" Carter demanded. "With global cooperation, maybe 2 weeks," Diane replied. "But we need resources, and we need to keep this hidden from hegemony satellites." Carter made his decision immediately. "You've got them. This is now Project Safeguard. Priority 1. Around the world, manufacturing facilities that had been building conventional weapons shifted to producing specialized electromagnetic emitters. The components were disguised as communications equipment, power infrastructure, and medical technology. Meanwhile, intelligence officer Susan Parks undertook the most dangerous mission. Using technology reverse-engineered from a damaged hegemony scout craft, she infiltrated their main vessel as a maintenance worker. For 3 days, she gathered critical information before returning with data drives hidden in her equipment. Her findings changed everything. "They're stretched thin," she reported, still pale from her ordeal. "This invasion force is all they could spare. The hegemony is fighting rebellions in 2 other sectors. They need Earth's resources, but they don't have the forces they claimed." As the deadline approached, humanity presented a careful facade. Official communications expressed continued deliberation and hints at eventual acceptance. Hegemony observers reported increasing compliance among Earth governments. Below the surface, a different reality unfolded. Engineers worked around the clock, installing emitter nodes at key locations worldwide. Scientists refined the technology, while military personnel prepared for the moment of truth. 5 days before the deadline, President Wilson addressed a secret joint session of world leaders. "For perhaps the first time in history, we stand truly united," she said. "Every nation, every people, facing the same threat to our freedom. Today, we decide if humanity determines its own future." The vote was unanimous. Earth would reject the hegemony's terms. On the night before the deadline, the final preparations were completed. Thousands of emitter nodes stood ready, connected to power plants worldwide. The system remained dormant, invisible to hegemony scans. General Carter inspected the master control facility, buried deep beneath an unassuming government building. Technicians monitored systems while military commanders waited for orders. "Will it work?" Carter asked Kevin and Diane. "The simulations are positive," Kevin said carefully. "But we've never tested anything like this at full scale." "The hegemony has conquered worlds across the galaxy," Diane added, "but they've never tried to conquer Earth." As dawn broke on deadline day, UN Secretary-General Julian Nash prepared to deliver humanity's response. The hegemony representatives gathered, expecting submission. In orbit, hegemony warships moved into position, weapon systems warming up as a precaution. Their commanders were confident. No world had successfully resisted them before. They didn't know that beneath them, humanity was about to reveal its hidden strength, a planetary defense system unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Julian Nash walked into the United Nations chamber with steady steps. The room fell silent as she approached the podium. Behind her sat world leaders, united for perhaps the first time in history. Across from them, Xorval and the hegemony delegation waited expectantly. "Ambassador Xorval," Nash began, her voice calm but firm. "On behalf of all nations of Earth, I thank you for your patience these past 30 days. Xorval inclined his head slightly. The bronze-skinned alien appeared relaxed, confident in Earth's submission. We have carefully considered the hegemony's generous offer, Nash continued, opening a folder before her, and we have prepared our response. She lifted a single sheet of paper. This document is called the Terran Sovereignty Declaration. It states simply that Earth belongs to humanity. We respectfully decline integration into the galactic hegemony. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Sorval's eyes darkened to a deep purple, a sign of anger. Susan Parks had reported from her intelligence mission. This is unexpected, Sorval said carefully. Perhaps you misunderstood. This was not a negotiation. We understood perfectly, Nash replied. Earth declares itself a sovereign, independent world. We welcome peaceful relations with all galactic civilizations, including the hegemony, but we will not surrender our freedom. Sorval stood abruptly. Then you leave us no choice. The consequences will begin immediately. He touched a device on his wrist. Throughout the chamber, delegates reached for similar hidden controls. In orbit, hegemony warships positioned themselves above major cities. Energy weapons charge, targeting defense installations first, then population centers. Their commanders waited for the signal from Sorval. In the underground command center, General Carter watched the alien ships moving into attack formation. They're powering weapons, reported a monitoring officer. Carter nodded to Kevin Hayes. Activate Project Safeguard. Kevin entered the final command sequence. Across the planet, thousands of electromagnetic emitters powered up simultaneously. Earth's natural magnetic field amplified the effect, creating an invisible shield that enveloped the entire planet. In space, hegemony targeting systems suddenly went haywire. Weapons that had locked onto Earth's military bases now showed only scattered, confusing readings. Communication between ships became garbled with interference. At the UN, Sorval received frantic reports from his fleet commanders. His composed facade cracked as he realized something was wrong. "What have you done?" he demanded. Nash smiled. "We've simply created an environment where your technology doesn't work quite as effectively as you're used to." The first hegemony ship fired despite the interference. Its energy beams scattered harmlessly in the upper atmosphere, dissipated by the electromagnetic shield. "You should know," Nash continued, "that we've studied your capabilities carefully. Your weapons depend on precision, targeting that our planetary defense system now prevents." Sorval's guards moved to surround him, hands on their weapons, but Nash remained calm. "We have no desire for conflict," she said, "but we will not be conquered. Here are our terms. The hegemony will recognize Earth's independence. Your forces will withdraw from our solar system. In return, we will consider future diplomatic relations and limited trade agreements. You cannot dictate terms to the hegemony." Sorval hissed. As if in answer, a second hegemony vessel fired at Washington, D.C. The beam scattered just like the first. On screens throughout the chamber, people could see the ineffective attack dissolving against Earth's invisible shield. "It appears we can," Nash replied. "Your weapons cannot penetrate our defenses, and according to our intelligence, you lack the forces for a prolonged siege." Sorval's expression shifted between rage and disbelief. No world had ever successfully resisted a hegemony takeover. "We will bring reinforcements," he threatened. "Thousands of ships." "You're welcome to try," Nash said. "But know this, Earth will never submit. Not today, not when your reinforcements arrive. This is our home, and we will defend it." As Sorval stormed from the chamber, Earth's leaders exchanged cautious glances. They had won the first battle, but the war was just beginning. The hegemony ships pulled back to the outer solar system, regrouping near Jupiter's orbit. Sorval sent urgent messages through subspace, calling for reinforcements from nearby sectors. Earth had 3 weeks before additional hegemony forces would arrive. Inside the Lunar Base Command Center, Commander Nickel Bennett studied the tactical displays. The base, hidden beneath the moon's surface, had been secretly constructed years before as an observation post. Now it served as humanity's forward defense position. They're adapting their scanners, she noted, watching the hegemony fleet's energy signature shift, trying to find frequencies that can penetrate our shield. We expected that, Dr. Grant replied over the secure channel from Earth. The xenobiologist had been analyzing hegemony technology nonstop. But we found something even more interesting. Back on Earth, Dr. Grant and Kevin Hayes were examining a captured hegemony scout ship. The small vessel had been disabled during the first attack attempt when it ventured too close to a major emitter node. Their ships generate their own protective fields, Hayes explained to General Carter. But our electromagnetic emissions create dead zones where their technology simply fails. Can we weaponize that? Carter asked. Hayes nodded. We think so. If we can mount portable emitters on spacecraft, we could potentially disable their ships at close range. The plan was approved immediately. Earth's space agencies combined resources to modify existing vessels with the new technology. Leading the mission would be Captain Paul Warren, whose intelligence work had proven crucial during the first contact. It's essentially a guerrilla operation, Warren explained to his volunteer crew. We can't match their firepower, but we can disable their systems long enough to cause damage and retreat. The first modified ships launched just as hegemony scouts began probing Earth's defenses. These small, fast craft carried powerful electromagnetic emitters designed to create localized dead zones in hegemony technology. Their first target was an isolated hegemony scout ship. Warren's team approached from behind Jupiter's largest moon, running silent until they were within range. When they activated their emitters, the effect was immediate. The hegemony vessel's engines flickered and died, its weapons systems offline. Boarding team, go, Warren ordered. Space-suited humans crossed the void between ships, attached to guidelines. They cut through the disabled vessel's airlock and secured the small alien crew. Within hours, they had a captured hegemony ship to study. More importantly, they had proven that Earth could fight back. As news of the successful mission spread, similar operations were launched from hidden bases around the solar system. Earth forces captured 5 more scout ships in the next week, each one providing valuable intelligence about hegemony tactics and technology. On the hegemony command vessel, morale was deteriorating. The aliens had never encountered a species that could neutralize their technological advantage. Some of the lower-ranked crew, members of species previously conquered by the hegemony, began questioning their commanders. The humans have defensive capabilities unlike any we've seen, reported a hegemony tactical officer, and they're learning our vulnerabilities quickly. Sorval's authority was increasingly challenged. We should wait for reinforcements before engaging further, suggested his second-in-command. Retreating will show weakness, Sorval countered. The humans must be made an example of, or other worlds will follow their lead. What Sorval didn't know was that his communications were being monitored. Every transmission between hegemony ships was intercepted by Earth's intelligence services, translated, and analyzed for weaknesses. Commander Bennett watched from the lunar base as the hegemony prepared a larger attack force. They're getting desperate, she observed, sending in larger ships despite knowing our capabilities. When the attack came, Earth was ready. The planetary shield held firm against the assault, while Earth's modified ships launched counterattacks against the larger hegemony vessels. Each success built confidence among Earth's defenders. Even more concerning for the hegemony, several of their subject species serving on their ships began showing signs of rebellion. Inspired by Earth's resistance, they sabotaged equipment and leaked information to human forces. The tide was turning, but the main hegemony reinforcements were still on their way. Earth had won the opening battles, but the true test was yet to come. The message arrived unexpectedly. Commander Bennett was reviewing defense strategies when her communications officer reported a strange transmission. It's using our frequency codes, but it's not from any Earth vessel, the young officer explained. Bennett approached the console. Put it through, but keep our shields up. The screen flickered to life, revealing a strange face. The alien had gray-blue skin with gill-like structures along its neck. It spoke in accented but clear English. I am Kelfar of the Novan people. We wish to make contact with Earth leadership. After security protocols were satisfied, Bennett arranged a secure meeting. 3 days later, a small vessel approached the lunar base under heavy guard. Inside were representatives from 3 different species: the aquatic Novans, the insectoid Zithri, and the plant-like Turellians. On Earth, Ambassador Ryan Peters was quickly dispatched to the moon. The veteran diplomat had been chosen for his calm demeanor and quick thinking. "We represent worlds conquered by the hegemony generations ago," explained Kelfar once they were seated in the secure conference room. "For centuries, we have served as soldiers, technicians, and laborers in their empire." The Zithri representative clicked her mandibles in agreement. "Your resistance has created something we haven't seen before: hope." Peters listened carefully as they explained their situation. Dozens of species had been subjugated by the hegemony over thousands of years. Most had forgotten what freedom meant, accepting their role as servants to the empire. But Earth's defiance has spread through the ranks like wildfire. The Turellian said, its leaf-like appendages trembling with excitement. "Many of us are now questioning our loyalty." "What exactly are you proposing?" Peters asked. "An alliance," Kelfar replied simply. "We can provide intelligence about hegemony reinforcements, sabotage their ships from within, and spread your defensive technology to our homeworlds." Peters conferred with Earth leadership. The opportunity was too valuable to ignore, but caution was necessary. After careful screening to ensure this wasn't a hegemony trap, Earth agreed to the alliance. The alien representatives were given access to the electromagnetic shield technology. In return, they provided detailed information about hegemony fleet movements and internal politics. "Their empire is stretched thin," Kelfar explained, pointing to a star map. "Rebellions have broken out in 2 distant sectors. That's why your initial invasion force was smaller than standard protocol." This information proved crucial. Earth learned that the expected reinforcements had been reduced to deal with other uprisings. Meanwhile, Major Lisa Collins prepared for the most daring mission yet. Using information from their new allies, Earth forces planned to capture a hegemony command vessel, one containing the codes and protocols for their entire fleet. "This is our best chance to gain a real advantage," Collins told her strike team. "With those command codes, we can disrupt their entire operation." The mission launched during a period of solar activity that further confused hegemony sensors. 3 Earth ships, modified with the most powerful emitters yet designed, approached the target vessel from different directions. The battle was brief but intense. The electromagnetic weapons disabled the hegemony ship's defenses long enough for Collins and her team to board. Fighting through the corridors, they'd reached the command center and secured the vital data systems. "Mission accomplished," Collins reported as her team extracted with the captured command vessel. "We have their communication protocols and strategic plans." With this new intelligence, Earth could now intercept and understand all hegemony communications. More importantly, they could coordinate with growing rebel forces throughout hegemony territory. The alliance expanded rapidly. Representatives from 5 more conquered species made contact, each bringing valuable intelligence and resources to the resistance. For the first time, Hexorval and the hegemony leadership realized they weren't just fighting Earth. They were facing the potential collapse of their entire empire. What had begun as a routine conquest was becoming a galaxy-wide revolution. As reports of rebellions on hegemony-controlled worlds multiplied, Hexorval received an unexpected message from his superiors: "Return to Central Command immediately." A new approach was needed. The hegemony flagship departed Earth's solar system with surprising speed. Hexorval had been recalled by the Central Command, leaving behind a reduced force and confusion among the remaining hegemony officers. "They're retreating," observed General Carter, watching the tactical displays at Earth Defense Headquarters. The room hummed with activity as officers tracked the departing ships. "Not retreating," corrected Ambassador Peters. "Regrouping. According to our allies, the Hegemony High Council is in chaos. Rebellions have spread to 17 systems. Reports from across the galaxy confirmed this assessment. Using Earth's electromagnetic technology, former hegemony subject worlds were declaring independence. The empire that had stood for thousands of years was fracturing under the weight of multiple uprisings. 3 days after Xorval's departure, a new hegemony vessel entered the solar system. Unlike the warships before it, this one was clearly diplomatic, smaller, with minimal weapons systems. "I am emissary Jorlath," announced the new representative during the first communication. "I come with authority to negotiate terms with Earth and its allies." The Galactic Freedom Summit, as it came to be known, was held in neutral space, a station orbiting Earth's moon. Representatives from 20 formerly subjugated species joined human delegates. The hegemony sent 3 officials, their once commanding presence now diminished by circumstance. President Wilson opened the proceedings with a simple statement: "We gather today not as conquerors or conquered, but as equals seeking a new path forward." For 2 weeks, the summit debated the shape of the post-hegemony galaxy. Earth's leaders insisted on independence for all worlds that desired it. The hegemony representatives struggled to preserve some semblance of their former authority. "The collapse of central authority will lead to chaos," warned Jorlath. "Piracy, resource wars, and worse will follow." "Perhaps," acknowledged Peters, "but freedom with risk is preferable to safety through subjugation." Dr. Frost, who had detected the first alien signals months earlier, presented an alternative vision. "We propose a cooperative alliance of independent worlds. Mutual defense, cultural exchange, and technological sharing, all voluntary." As the summit progressed, more worlds declared independence from the hegemony. The once mighty empire controlled barely a third of its former territory. Their negotiating position weakened daily. Finally, on the 15th day, the Terran Accords were signed. The document established recognition of sovereignty for all intelligent species, prohibited forced integration of any world, and created frameworks for peaceful interaction between civilizations. The hegemony, reduced now to a regional power, had no choice but to sign. As the summit concluded, Kelfar approached Dr. Grant and Kevin Hayes. "Your world has accomplished something unprecedented," the Novan said. "In all recorded history, no single planet has changed the course of galactic politics so dramatically." Dr. Grant smiled. "We had a unique advantage, not just our technology, but our spirit. Earth will be remembered as the world that said no," Kelfar agreed, "and showed others they could do the same." The following months brought rapid change. Earth established formal diplomatic relations with dozens of newly independent worlds. Cultural exchanges began, with alien visitors becoming a common sight in major cities. Dr. Miller led an international team adapting helpful hegemony technology for peaceful purposes. Advances in medicine, energy production, and environmental restoration followed quickly. Space travel underwent a revolution as Earth engineers combined their electromagnetic technology with alien propulsion systems. The first human deep space exploration vessel launched within a year, crewed by scientists from 7 nations. On the anniversary of first contact, President Wilson addressed a global audience from the new Galactic Cooperation Center in Geneva. "1 year ago, we faced a choice between submission and extinction," she said. "We chose a third path, resistance and cooperation. Today, humanity stands not alone, but as part of a community of free worlds." In orbit above Earth, ships from 12 different species formed an honor guard. Among them was a small hegemony vessel, no longer an invader, but a guest. Earth had declared no entry to conquest and subjugation. In doing so, it had opened doors to something far greater, a future where humanity would journey among the stars not as conquering or conquered, but as equals in a galaxy of free peoples.